Welcome, all of my corporate professionals. So, what do you do in a situation where you're really unhappy in the job that you're in, but you're not quite ready to give up on the job just yet? How do you cope in that kind of situation? Well, the first thing to do is you have to take a step back and actually assess your situation. So, really sit down and think, what is it about the job role that is making you so unhappy? So, is it the job role itself? Is it that you're overworked? Is it that you don't have a good relationship with your boss? Whatever the reasons are, make sure that you pinpoint what those reasons are and write them down even so that you can assess them properly. A lot of the time when we're unhappy in our job role, we somehow think that the manager should know this already. The manager should know what's making us unhappy, and we don't say anything, and then we end up just leaving the position. And of course, if this is a position that you just have to leave, obviously you should just leave. But sometimes there could have been something that could have been worked out to make you happy at your position before you had to take that next step. And this is where having a conversation with your manager is important, because your manager can't read your mind and they're there to support and guide you. But if you don't voice your concerns to them, they're going to be blindsided when you eventually decide to leave. So that might mean that you might want to set up a one-to-one with your manager to have this conversation. And when you're having this conversation, really emphasize on what the problem is and how it's affecting you and how it's making you unhappy. And if you have solutions on how to make the situation better, also offer those solutions to the manager for them to assess the situation and see how best to help you in that situation and make your work life better. Now, step 3, which is going to sound very cliche, is to stay positive. Now, I know a lot of career gurus out there always say staying positive is important, and a lot of the time it just doesn't seem realistic, and I understand that. But I'm going to put this out there. It's very important just for your mental state that you stay positive. So the way of staying positive in a job that you're currently unhappy in is to think about parts of the job that you're actually happy about. Okay, it could be even small things like, I don't know, having an hour lunch, for example. But just think of, because a lot of the time when you hate your job, it's not everything that you hate about the job. There's some parts of the jobs that you do like. So focus more on those parts to just keep you in a positive frame of mind. And just following on from that, in just being positive and keeping a healthy frame of mind, make sure that when you're not working, that you are keeping yourself occupied and doing things that you like to do, whether that's a hobby that you have, make sure that you're doing that hobby, just things that are keeping you happy and distracted from the stress of work. Because I think the worst thing is just not having that work-life balance. So you work throughout the whole week and then you don't do anything on the weekend, for example, then you're back at work. It just exacerbates the situation of how much you hate your job, and sometimes you just need to take your way from that situation and just focus on things that you like, so that when you do come back to work, you're more refreshed and positive. So the next tip that I have is you should always vent out your frustrations, but the way that you do this is very important. I always advise, don't ever vent your frustrations in the workplace, because news can spread and you don't want that on you. So try not to vent your frustrations at work unless you have like one trusted person that you talk to. But always make sure that you're sharing whatever is frustrating you with somebody, so it's not just piled up inside, because eventually it's going to explode and it might not be in the way that you want. So whether that's venting to your spouse or venting to a trusted friend or having a therapist, whatever it is, just make sure that you're getting that frustration out of your system, because it's true what they say, a problem shared is a problem halved, and you kind of feel more relief once you've shared that burden with somebody. So my next tip is in regards to your work performance, because it's very tempting when you're unhappy in a job or you feel like you're being unappreciated, anything of that nature, to start slacking in your work performance. And although it might be tempting, it might not work in your best favor. The thing is, when you start doing work that is not your best, it just makes you feel more negative, more worse about the situation, about yourself. But at least if you keep the same standard of work, it at least keeps you positive from that angle, and it gives you a sense of purpose, right? Because at least that's the one thing that you can control. You can control your work performance. And it's also good in terms of, getting a good reference for your next job, things of that nature. So never make your work performance slack due to being unhappy in your role. So if you follow all of those tips and you find out that, after you've voiced your frustrations, that the manager has not done anything to make your situation better, the situation in general just hasn't improved, even though you've spoken to people, you don't feel any better, nothing is changing for you, and your mental health is suffering, then it's time to have that difficult conversation with yourself and determine whether it's actually time for you to then leave the organization to something that is better and more suited for you. So if you're in that situation right now where you are looking for your next big job role and you want to land that high paying, fulfilling job, but you're not sure how to get there and you're facing job rejection, then join my premium coaching program for landing high paying jobs, which is on my website, interviewsimplified.com. I'll leave a link below. Also, if you want more videos like this, sharing interview tips and career advice, then subscribe to my channel where I do weekly videos. And if you want daily tips on how to pass interviews and career guidance, then follow my Facebook page. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.